So the Nuggets are 4-0, and what's crazy is that they're mainly doing it through their defense, not as much their offense. They have played a couple teams that are not the best offensively, Sacramento Kings being one of them. They also played the Suns, who have some decent talent, but it's a lot of young dudes who haven't really played together like that. But they also held the Warriors to, 98, 99 points, something like that. So, while I don't think the Nuggets will end this season as the best or second best defense or wherever they are right now, could this be a sign that they're going to be better than some of us believed? Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, where did they finish last year? It was definitely like around number 25 or so. And when you looked at the roster, you just thought, no, there's no way these guys can even be a decent defense. But I think the first thing we're seeing is that Paul Millsap is Paul Millsap. I mean, offensively, he's having some tough times with this team right now in terms of making shots, and he doesn't totally fit in with like the space of the floor, shoot threes thing. But his defense is still good. He's one of the more versatile dudes in the league who can, defend a perimeter player, defend the low post. He knows how to rotate and all that. And I think his presence is helping them out a bit. Also have to give some credit to Jokic. The dude lost a little bit more weight, it seems. He's moving around a little bit better. And while I believe that there's still questions about his defense long term, at least in this moment, it seems that he's able to just be on the floor. Now, I'm sure as the season goes along, teams are going to attack him a little bit more often. Because one thing with the Warriors is, a lot of the time, they don't just run the simple pick and roll to attack the opposing team's five, right? They play the Warriors basketball where everybody touches the ball and all that stuff. So there's a chance that Jokic would have a little bit more of a chance of surviving against them, especially when it's the regular season and they're focused more on like getting all their sets in order and all that, more so than just we have to attack Jokic possession after possession, right? But even so, I think Nikola has made some progress. Gary Harris was always at least an average defender, probably a little overrated by some people, including me for a stretch of time. But even so, it wasn't bad. Jamal Murray has shown flashes here and there in his career of being a defensive, well, not a defensive player, but at least being able to survive out there. And then, between Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who's got some size, and Torrey Craig, who seems like a guy, it's all kind of enough. Now, there are some other little things that I've noticed with this Nuggets team that I think is helping them out. Number one, they are tied with the Jazz for the best defensive rebound percentage in the league, so they're not allowing a lot of second opportunities for their opponents, which is big, because not only does it not allow extra possessions, it doesn't allow the other team to get to the free throw line an extra few times a game. So I think that could be another part of Millsap being back, because I believe he's averaging like 7 or 8 rebounds a game right now, and Jokic is, of course, one of the better rebounders in the league. So that's great. I think this team is also not turning the ball over that much. I say I think. I mean, I know. They're like number 7 or 8 in the league in terms of good turnover percentages. So they're not allowing the other team to get out on the fast break as much. And sure, while their one-on-one defensive personnel doesn't look that great outside of Millsap, it seems like there's just enough of the right thing going on. This team clearly has made an emphasis on playing defense. And given that this is a group of guys who have been together for a few years now, and the one new piece is a veteran in Paul Millsap, yeah, I could see how this is happening. Now, do I think this is going to hold up throughout the season? No, I think this team is going to fall back down to earth, but maybe now them falling back down to earth is better than what we envisioned it was going to be throughout this entire offseason, right? Because what was the narrative that everybody presented? This is going to be a top 5 offense, and their defense is going to have a tough time. And if they can just be respectable enough, then they're going to win a lot of games. Well, now maybe they have proven that they will be respectable. Maybe they'll end up as the 12th best defense rather than the 22nd or something. And that would be a massive difference. I mean, that could be the difference between them being a borderline 8th seed and like the 3rd seed in the West. Especially because right now, like, the Lakers are having a little bit of a tough time and the Thunder can't make a shot at all. Of course, Westbrook only has played 1 game so far, but then you've got the idea that Jimmy Butler could still get traded at some point. Like, the West is in a little bit of flux right now, and if the Nuggets are going to be the great offense we envision them to be, and they're going to be an above-average defense, well, suddenly their stock rises significantly. Now, what's interesting is that their offense has actually been the disappointment so far. I think a lot of it is because Jamal Murray just hasn't made a lot of shots. They also haven't had Will Barton for 2 games. I already mentioned that Millsap's fit with the team offensively is a little awkward. I think we're seeing that with how he's only attempting 8.5 shots a game, which is the least amount he's taken since like 2008. So yeah, that can cause a little bit of awkwardness. Also, Gary Harris is missing some 3-pointers right now. So once all those things figure themselves out, I think that could actually help their defense out as well, because they'll at least be able to establish their defense, right? Another thing that I think is helping them, I know I'm bouncing around between offense and defense right now. I do want to talk about the offense a little bit more, but if I can mention one more thing about their defense is they're not playing that fast. They're like mid-tier in pace right now, which is still 102 possessions a game, which would make them like number 1 last season. But now that everybody's just running like a crazy person at this point, that actually makes them just like in the middle. But, you know, I think that's helping them out as well, because it, again, allows them to just kind of establish their defensive thing. Anyway, if I can get back to the offense a little bit more. The thing that I like is that from the get-go, Jokic is making it known that he is the number 1 option. Because one thing with Jokic throughout his first 3 years was he would always start the year off kind of slow, and then by about maybe game 50 or 60, he would really start to take over. And he would bring the ball up floor, and he would do those top of the key like ISOs with cutters going to the rim, and he would demand the ball in the low post. But he wouldn't do it for the whole season, whereas now it seems like he's asserting himself as the dude, which, that's a big deal. I mean, the team won 46 games last year, and you could argue that if he just did that from the jump, maybe they would have won 50 or something. So yeah, there are some things to be intrigued about, and while the offense has been worse than the defense right now, I do think those are going to flip. But again, maybe this Nuggets team is a little better defensively than we envisioned, so that's good stuff. And I think that'll do it. Shout out to Nikola Jokic. Shout out to Malik Beasley. Still waiting on somebody to trade for him. And that's it.